Hello everybody, and welcome back to another super mega cringe fest. It is the one, the only, the Resident Evil Resistance Ultimate Tier List. Today we are back with part 2 of the C tier. We're going to be getting through as many as possible. We had part 1 last episode of the C tier, and there's many more to go in it. So I'll try to get through as many as possible. Likelihood is I'm still going to have a chunk left over for a part 3, but we'll keep going anyway. Now, as always, must be stated, C tier is good, especially from this point in. Like, we're now getting towards the middle of the C tier. So, these are players who have good qualities, who still have pretty glaring weaknesses, or they're just generally too inconsistent to be properly higher tier, but they have potential when they play well, and they are, knowledgeable enough of the game to largely know what to do with maybe 1 or 2 weaknesses with certain builds. Anyway, let's get straight into it, shall we? We'll start with SDS Hog N, as Sam used to call him. In reality, it's SD Shogun. Now, I like this guy a lot. He's good fun. He plays his own take on builds. He's a solid player, like, even with his outside of the box builds or ways he makes use of them, he'll always be tricky with what he does. He always tries to keep the clock down in like his own way, and yeah, always good matches with him. I've always enjoyed facing him. He's back in the game now, I believe, so maybe I'll face him again soon, and it would be lovely because by all means he seems like a guy who has fun with the game. He, as I say, uses fun builds. Those fun builds honestly might stop him being higher in this list. And again, I'm not saying if you don't play meta you're not going to be higher. No, because if you're amazing but you don't play meta, you'll be high, as you'll see coming up afterwards. But in this case, Shogun is competitive in most cases with his builds, but if he played meta, he'd be good enough to push up a little bit more. After SD Shogun is a player who is a Becker main. There's not many of them, so that narrows it down. He is a 999 Becker. He's interesting. It's not Ether, okay, I'll just get to the point. It's Apex Exterminator, one of the very first 999s. Yeah, I played with him a few times when he came back for a little while in mid to late 2021, I believe it was. And he was perfectly okay. You could tell he'd had a long time out of the game, or he just was used to when the game wasn't as developed, it didn't have as many cards and skills. And yeah, he was alright. If I was purely judging him based on that period, he'd honestly be lower C, if not top of D. But I do have to give him credit for, the amount he played at the start as well. I know a lot of it was boosters, etc. But at the end of the day, he got to 999. He would have been considered quite strong back then. Not as good when I played with him, but that's just how it is, and it evens out to a just below mid-tier C overall. Following him is a player who typically uses Jan and Val. Have seen him shit talk once or twice on YouTube, including to myself, but I'm not going to penalise him for that. We all have our opinions. It's Hawk Silex. He's a fine player. He's decently knowledgeable. His Val is solid. His Jan, it's okay. His aim isn't the best. I don't really see him get 20s, but his general cam management is okay. And yeah, as I say, his Val is solid. Not much else to write home about him, so yeah, below mid-tier C, but still okay. Up next is a pal of mine who I used to play with a little bit here and there. He played with other people more, and he's now on the Evil Dead side of things. It's Mendez from Brazil. Lagged a lot, but no, good fun player, fun to talk and play with. He was a solid Val. Martin as well, he was decent with. Yeah, just an overall solid player who probably would have done better. Like, he was good anyway, but he would have been even better if he didn't lag as much. Because his knowledge was solid, he was a good Valerie. And yeah. Following Mendez is Jose. Don't know what the numbers are on the end. Is it Jose 87 or something? I don't know. But anyway, Jose is, quite honestly, again, as within the last video, one of these solid staple masterminds, and he definitely can give you a run for your money with his Annette. He's quite good with. Not much else to write home about here. It's just, again, a standard solid mastermind, and we do have time to make up, so we'll keep going. And we do keep going with Days Skillet, just an all-round solid player, really. Again, he's like I mentioned in the previous videos with like VSG Fever, but a better version of him. One of these players who can play quite a few characters. Again, they don't really make many mistakes, but they're not amazing either. They're just there, a solid presence. He's okay as mastermind as well. So yeah, Days Skillet below mid-tier in the C tier. Following him is an interesting player who I think maybe could be a tad higher if I played with him more. By all means, when I did play with him, he was perfectly fine. It is Ken is the name, mainly used Martin, I believe, and he was a fine Martin. Yeah, not too many complaints. Decent with his flash without being, you know, like frame perfect, mind-blowing capabilities of, you know, flashing Nemesis or whatever at the right moments. But yeah, he was fine. He was fine. He was a solid player. Seemed a nice guy as well. Voice chatted with him a few times. So yeah, Ken is the name. Following him is a mastermind who, when he's on his game, is not too bad. Pretty good, I'd say, actually. He does rage quit a lot, though, and does ruin him sometimes. It's Eddie from Maiden. His Infinite X with guns build is fun to play against, and he's pretty solid with it. As I say, he rage quits a lot as well, and it just stops, you know, him having that full potential of pushing through, giving it a go in matches. But yeah, that's just how Eddie works. That's how Eddie rocks. And Eddie from Maiden gets below mid-C tier. Following him is a Becca main. There's not many of them, so it narrows it down. It's not Apex Exterminator. It's not Aoife. It's Capcom VSSE. Good player, good Becca, has a good aim, definitely capable of killing a bioweapon. A bit 50-50 sometimes. He'll kill creatures easily, other times he'll really get overwhelmed. He's alright against Nikolai's. As I say, he's a good bio, weapon killer. And overall, just a good, solid player. If he played more characters, I definitely believe he'd have the ability to be higher up in the tier list. But as we stand, with his Becker alone, yeah, he's here. Following Capcom is a player who literally begged me to put him in the tier list. Well, not maybe begged, but he asked me to. It is Prince E. Ray. Plays Valerie for the most part of what I've seen. He's a good Valerie. Yeah, similar type of level to Mendez, but he lags a bit less. And that's about what separates them, to be honest. But yeah, Prince C. Ray is a good player, and not much else to say on him, to be honest. Following him is a Nikolai main who I don't see around at all nowadays, but back in the day he was fine. I believe he was a bit overrated as well. Some people seem to think he was like near elite, because he was quite a high level. I think he was good. It's Banjo. Banjo B1TW, something like that. Yeah, good Nikolai, but he was very inconsistent as well. He was capable of giving good teams a challenge, and then he'd genuinely lose to malware. So, he was an interesting Nikolai. When it was all gelling and everything was good, yeah, he was definitely one of the better Nikolais around, but again, I've said this for some players already, wildly inconsistent and capable of a massive stinker. So balances out to around here overall. Following him is a man who literally made his YouTube channel because of a match against me. It's Nana's Play. Good Martin, good player overall. Honestly underrated. If there was more exposure for Nana's Play, definitely is a capable player. Definitely someone who could play in some teams and not look out of place. Haven't seen them consistently enough to push them even higher, but they played a good Martin, a good USB Martin as well. Knew what they were doing, very intelligent plays, and yeah, ends up being here in the C tier. Following Nana's Play is somebody who I feel like I played with more than I actually did. It's Fvvb, the Tyrone main. I've watched his streams more than I've played with him, I think. He's a good player, good Tyrone, a little bit impatient, a little bit temperamental, but good player, solid with his kicks. He doesn't die often. He isn't amazing against creatures, and he's average against Nikolais, but like he does stay alive well, he does use his kick well, he knows how to push. Yeah, good player, Fvvb. Following him is Dustin VRQ. Now, he's a really underrated Martin, actually. He's a good Martin. He has unique ways where he like preemptively places his traps. Like, he doesn't always just place them at doors, he'll just dump them on long hallways where a bioweapon will chase him in a minute's time. And yeah, he's just a good all-round player, Dustin. Not as good with Mastermind. His Nikolai leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest, but his Martin is good. Does he play Tyrone as well? I'm not sure, but anyway, Martin, as I say, very solid. Nikolai, very questionable. Balances out to around, yeah, we're now getting right towards the middle of the C tier. Following him is one of Mike's worst nemesis. It is a player who plays Trap Alex and was pretty good with it actually back in the day. Definitely was somebody I feared more when I was like soloing, duoing, or in a more casual team. I thought they were like top tier back in the day. And they weren't. They were just good. but nevertheless, it's Hep Beeble Hot Me. Good Trap Alex, good Jan as well. Would like to see them more. I haven't seen enough of their gameplay, like from a proper perspective to make a true judgment, but yeah, solid Trap Alex, solid Jan. They finish here. Following that is another solid Jan. I haven't seen them use anyone else other than Jan, but they're again underrated with Jan. It's excuse the pronunciation, but Standalones. I think that's the correct way to say it. But yeah, really good Jan. Really really solid. Never talked about as a good Jan, but they're not top tier Jan. They're not the tier below top tier either, but they're just a good Jan who knows what they're doing. Good aim, good cam management, uses their Fever properly, hacks for the most part without fail. Like, not without fail, that makes it sound like he can't press an R1 button. But he doesn't waste hacks, that's my point. And yeah, not enough versatility there to push higher, but Standalones, good Jan, middle of C tier approximately. Up next is another Martin main. It's Alan. Had some numbers on the end of his name. He used to play a lot back in the day, a couple years back, and he was a good player all round, to be honest. His Martin was good, he didn't die with him, his flashing was good, that could have been worded better. And yeah, no, Alan was just a good player. Really, really solid player. I miss playing with him. There was a period where it was me, Zelf, Dragnir, Guacadash, and Alan, I believe, for a period, and had a lot of fun matches with those guys. Yeah, not much more to say about Alan, just a good player in general. Wish he was still around. Middle of C tier. Following him is a man more known for his incredible ways of boggling the mind because of his YouTube series of accusing people of hacking. It's Beerus, and honestly, he must have drinking a lot. Drinking? I must have drunk a lot of beers to say that. He must have drunk a lot of beers to have released those videos. Yeah, well done, Nick. You butchered the joke. Anyway, Beerus, he's fine. Good player. Decent Alex. Decent survivor. I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest, to make a conclusive statement, but yeah, just all around seems fine, good, solid, a little bit of versatility there. He's decent with Survivor and Mastermind, so balances out to around here. Following him is somebody who changed their name, but back in the day they were known as Artyom Solavoy. Plays Val for the most part, good Val, solid player. I've watched a lot of their YouTube videos. They're fun matches to watch for the most part. They've given compliments on YouTube to a few people, not that that changes anything, but yeah. Good Valerie, Artyom Solavoy, middle of C tier. And following him is Skino Marsh, who has returned to the game recently. Always played fun builds, was good with them. Basically a better version of SD Shogun, to be honest. There was a period of time Skino Marsh was genuinely solid and challenging and put up a fight, and then a bit like QW Unprocessed, kind of went even more experimental with builds, but yeah, good fun. Always liked facing Skino Marsh. Good player. And finishes here. Following him is Big Arctos. Used to play Infection Alex for the most part, I believe, and was quite good with it. Solid. I definitely went a period where, like, I was starting to play a little bit more seriously, and I faced him quite often, and he was like the first person I kept facing who used Infection Alex, and it was definitely an experience getting to learn the build by basically facing him and him alone. But yeah, good Alex, good Valerie as well. And that's where we have Big Arctos. Following him is Ibrahim KSA. Good player all round here. Good Nikolai, good Trap Alex. Yeah, haven't seen them play Survivor all that much, but again, definitely a challenge with both of those builds I just mentioned. Few good matches on his YouTube channels. And yeah, just a good player. After Ibrahim is somebody who Mike, without fail, will reference this match the first time we played with them. Every time their name comes up, it'll always be, "Hey Sam, hey Nick, do you remember when we first played with X the Angelic Love and they were terrible? They've improved so much." And yes, Mike, I do remember that match. You've mentioned it 400 times, but yes. X the Angelic Love did improve a lot and became a genuinely good Jill, good Jan, good Valerie. Jill is their best, but the other two are also good, and they do play a decent Becca as well, so one of these people who's just genuinely solid all round with the girls, and yeah, a good player. Following the Angelic Love is a player who is sometimes good and competitive and other times just seems to be playing the most wacky build ever. It's Self-destruct. They've definitely had some good matches with Nikolai and Daniel. Other times I'm like, wait, what? What are you playing right now? But yeah, definitely, excuse me. Definitely capable of a challenge when they put it all together and ends up being here as a result. Following Self-destruct is somebody who played quite a bit back in the day, then kind of dipped mid to late 2021. Probably because they had to go to work permanently. Yeah, that was the excuse of Bobby Bell one time after a 35-minute long Infection Alex bemusement match, which he was about to lose as Alex. And then he said, "Sorry guys, I had to go to work. No, Bobby, nobody is buying your bullshit." Anyway, Bobby was a solid Spencer, solid Alex, solid January, solid Jill. He wasn't as good as he believed he was, like, very questionable with how aggressive he'd be on certain builds to use on characters, but yeah, good player. Still very salty that he insisted he played Jan when me, him, Ricky Boy Leeds and True Evil were a team. But there we go. Solid player overall. Bobby Bell, middle of C tier. And like right now, we are bang in the middle of the C tier. So the next like 3 or 4 are also in the middle, and then I'd say we're at the bottom of the upper tier of C tier, if you get me. Anyway, after Bobby Bell is somebody who seems to dip in and out of the game every so often. They have their periods of playing quite a bit, then they dip, then I see them again, then they dip, and it's just like on a rotation for months on end. It's ex-Legend Zombies. Interesting player. They could play basically everyone, and they were solid to good with everybody. I wouldn't say they had a standout. Their Becca was good. Their Sam was good. But again, when I played with Legend Zombies, it was a weird one where I'm like, yeah, you can play everybody and you're good with them. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, are you really, who's your main? Like, it's good to have people who fill in like that, but yeah, Legend Zombies was definitely interesting to play with. Good player, but I believe if he focused his attention on one character, he would have genuinely been really good. Following him is somebody who is a good Valerie for the most part. I think they played Daniel as well. But yeah, I played with them a handful of times myself when I got invited by by them and their team. And they surprised me with how solid they were. It's Sardo Vero. Yeah, good Valerie. Believe they were a Daniel, as I say. And just a good player all round. Following Sardo is Next VBA. Honestly, nothing to say here apart from good player. I wish I could say more, but that's just it. And after him is somebody who actually was a bit better than I gave them credit for at first, in my head anyway. Like, they haven't been mentioned on the tier list already. But their Valerie is better than I thought it was, to be honest. It's Mazika KSA. They're also a good Nikolai. We're seeing quite a few people who play mostly Valerie today. But yeah, Mazika, good Nikolai, really solid Valerie. I beat Star with him the other day when he was on Valerie, and he got in a couple of really good heals, so credit to him. And yeah, in the middle of the C tier. And so is Blackwing Shikari. Again, a bit like Legend Zombies, I mostly see them dip in and out. I know they played quite a bit back in the day. Good player with some matches where they'd have an interesting mentality. They kind of, some matches they'd be really solid, and then other times, like, I remember 2 or 3 sessions back to back where Blackwing was genuinely just playing awfully, like, with all due respect. He was like not even deliberately throwing or anything, he was just playing awfully. But I knew that he was a good player, and he's beaten me when I've been mastermind a handful of times as well, so yeah, he's a good player. Definitely had some very bad matches in there too, but no, overall, Blackwing knows what he's doing. He's a good player and finishes here. And now I'd say we're in the bottom of the top of C tier, or edging towards there anyway. There's still a gap between, like, the people I mentioned here for the bottom of the top of C tier are definitely, like, solidly worse than the people who are going to be top of the C tier, but nevertheless. We move on to Zolden 32. Good Jill, good defense and net player. Definitely has a rage quit in the mill or two as well, but yeah, good player all round. A challenging a net for a period of time when I played with like a mixture of people that I'd consider Zolden really challenging. As time passed, less so. His Jill was good. Lack of variety in his survivors otherwise though. And did mean he kind of took Jill off of me sometimes. You know, I'm the only person who can play Jill in the world, according to some people, so yeah, I've got to penalise him for that. Joking. But yeah, Zolden. After that is somebody who's pretty infamous for their unique way of charming the opposite sex. In other words, Simp God, Beast God. Hard one to talk about, really. They're a pretty underrated Samuel, actually. Beast God is pretty solid as Survivor. And his Nikolai is good. People like to meme on it, but it is good. It's just that he rage quits so often. But when he's fully focused, he's actually good. It's just he's not focused enough. That hurts him in the tier list. And honestly, it's his Survivor skills that are putting him this high of anything, so yeah. After that is somebody who was mentioned in the fake tier list. We're now going to be getting to more people like that, and it is A Missing Person, or Ben Sanderson. Now, he said he was happy with E tier, he ends up getting C tier. He can play everyone, he's solid with everyone. Does have a tendency to get impatient and Definitely can disrupt the momentum of a game when he gets a bit irate. I'd say he's best with Tyrone. His Valerie is good. His Jan is fine. His Jill is solid. And yeah, he's a good player. He knows what he's doing. He's just, yeah, it's the lack of patience that mainly stops him. It kind of starts snowballs here and there. Kind of disrupts the team as a whole, but he's a good player, and if he was more patient, he'd be higher. Following him is somebody who I've mentioned a couple of times as overrated, but as you can see here, they still finish in a good, healthy spot. Firebird Fred. If he played more players, more survivors, he'd be higher, but he was mostly just a Jill. A good Jill, a solid Jill. Definitely better at bioweapon killing than actually like camera management and stuff like that, but yeah, good Jill. Following him is somebody who was on my team in the first time I beat Linkway, so he'll always have a soft place in my heart. A soft place? No, a soft spot. Yeah, that's the one. It's Jesse Plays. Now, Jesse Plays could play a range of people. He was a good Valerie. His Jan was below average. But no, he could play most survivors. He was good. His Valerie was his best. Had a couple of really nice wins with him. There were times where he'd kind of lose focus. Like, when he wanted to sweat and he was building momentum, he was a good player. And then other times he'd be like, this match is going bad, I can't be bothered. And then that would affect him for 2 or 3 matches in a row. But yeah, Jesse, good player. Nice guy as well. I talked to him a few times. He was really nice. And yeah. Following him is somebody who actually found out about the tier list last night on Bridget's stream. A player who cringily uses the word ussy at the end to tag onto every word ever. Incredibly cringy. That'd be higher if it wasn't for this. Maybe a slight joke. It's Snoogans. Now, Snoogans is a very solid Valerie. Good with Nullify. Fun to play with. Again, just a lack of variety kind of mostly hurts Snoogans, but good player, really nice girl. Wish I played with her more, and finishes in the upper area of the C tier. Following Snoogans is the Alex main for the most part, and a really solid Jan actually, really underrated with Jan. JTXCVII, however you put that together in Roman numerals. But yeah, they're a really good Jan actually. They never get praised for it, but they're really good Jan. They also use my favourite Jan skins, so bonus points there. Good Alex as well. Definitely has a rage quit in them, but that doesn't penalise them. But yeah. Following them is somebody who I just mentioned, actually. They are deducted a few points for calling me Sticky Nicky all the time, but no. Good player. Definitely very fun to play with when they're not throwing Molotovs in my face and burning my neck with them. It's Bridget. Bridget is a good Valerie, really good Jan. Sneakily good with Tyrone, and yeah, just a good all-round player. Great girl to play with, really fun, never takes a loss badly, really fun to play with, and finishes in the upper area of C tier as a result. Bridget. Following her is Zelf Dragnir. Definitely didn't age that well. Back in the day, I considered them really good. And they were solid. Didn't really adapt with the times that well. Yeah, didn't develop into a good Samurai Edge Jill or anything like that, but they were good. And by all means, I always got on well with them myself. And yeah, ended up playing Mastermind a couple of times actually as well. They're not bad with Nikolai. So yeah. Following him is somebody who's honestly shot up in my estimations in recent months. Played with them after their name change and was like, who on earth is this? They're really good. It's Barry Buttons, who was always a good January and a fine Jill, but after like a year of not playing with them, they became a really, really good Jill. Was doing most tricks in the book to a good degree with her. And yeah, can play Val as well. They're okay with Valerie. But Jill's where they shine the most, and they've improved a lot. So if this was a few months earlier, I would have put Barry Buttons like bottom of C tier. But now, yeah, upper area. After Barry Buttons is Jamunition. Oh boy, I mentioned Jamunition as one of the most overrated players, and I stand by that. Still good enough to be in the C tier, but goodness me, the way some people talked about Jamie, you'd think he was top 3 Vals in the game, and he never was near that standard. He cheesed a fluky win against Peppenkek once, and basically built a career off of that, and pretending he was good at Nullify. Sounds a bit harsh. Jamie was a good player. Very weird weaknesses against Alex's though, and he was really impatient against Nikolai's. He blocked a lot of people too, but again, he was a super high rank Val and he was good, but yeah, crazy overrated as well. Following him is another super high rated player. They main Samuel. They do now play other people as well, but it is the 999 Sam Mouse Evil. Now, Mouse has caught the butt end of a lot of my criticisms and harsh points in the honest Q&As and in the fake tier list as well. Honestly, not too happy with Mouse because of what went down the other day again. But at the end of the day, this is talking about people as a player, and Mouse he's a committed player. He's one of few people who, you know, took Sam to 999 and had his fun in his way. I've mentioned his weaknesses before, but he's improved with January. He genuinely wasn't very good with her at all when he started, and now he's like over 100 with her, and he's better. Yeah, solid as Jan. His Val is fine. I do genuinely believe if he played Tyrone from the very start, he'd be a good Tyrone. I think Tyrone suits him more than Sam because he can be a bit more bullish with Tyrone without dying as often. But yeah, his Tyrone is solid too. His Samuel is good, by all means. Like, don't get me wrong, I've mentioned weaknesses of it as well. And that's why he isn't like B tier upwards. But Mouse, he can be hard to kill if you're a Nikolai. He does waste time at blind spots too, but like, he definitely is stronger against Nikolai's than most builds. Like, I'd say he's stronger against Nikolai than he is creatures. But yeah, Mouse, committed, dedicated Sam main. Resistance definitely would have been different without his streams and his quotes. Definitely has a lot of quotes. But yeah, evens out overall to the C tier area. And he's also okay as Mastermind too. Following him is a absolute no-win situation. I could put this guy S+ tier and he'd complain. It's Raccoon. I honestly have no words anymore for Raccoon. I do still remember the time when he lost to me and Bam. in duo queue when we had a rank 1 Tyrone on our team and he was Terminal Spencer. But yeah, Raccoon is Raccoon. I've criticised his Jill before. His Jill's okay. It's better than okay. It's good. And I do think Raccoon is somebody who does have potential to be really good. But his problem is that he's just so wildly flippant with his attitude. Like, when he focuses and he doesn't blame people, he's good. He is a good player. He can do things right. He has beaten Link Way, admittedly on Downtown, but he can pull off good results. Raccoon's problem is his patience, his lack of game intelligence, and I don't mean that in a like, you're a dumb person way. I mean, like, Raccoon will just shoot cameras randomly for no reason against Nikolai, like he'll blow a cam early, and then other times he won't shoot cams at all. Like, it's just general game management he's not the best with, Raccoon, but his Terminal Spencer is overall one of the better ones, and his Jill's good. It's good. It's just doesn't cover as many bases as it should do. So Raccoon finishes here in the C tier. And we'll do just a couple more. We'll go with Agent Fox Mulder next. Plays Sam mostly, and he's got really good movement with his Sam. Haven't seen him play anyone else, but I don't really need to know that he's a good enough player to be near the upper area of C tier. Yeah, really good Sam. Wish I saw him in teams more. I think he could be definitely B tier potential otherwise. And then 2 more for this part. Next up is Ricky Boy Leeds. Another one of these like VSG Fever or Ben Sanderson type players who can play so many. Like, Ricky could play Val really well, Tyrone really well, his Jam was fine, his Sam was solid. Like, Ricky was very versatile, really nice guy. I loved playing with Ricky. He was in one of my first like proper teams when it was, as I said, me, him, Bobby Bell and True Evil. And yeah, just a lovely guy as well, Ricky. Got a couple of great wins with him on my side, and I honestly wish he still played. And to round up this part of the C tier, so again, like, this part is like now in the area of bottom of the top tier of the C tier, and it's still that way. I'd say the last few have edged us towards the middle of the upper tier of C tier. And to wrap it off, we will have my good friend M19J88G, or Mike, as you may know. Mike is a devoted Becker main. He cites it as his destiny to be a rank 999 Becker. He's getting there, and I'll be over the moon for him when he does get there. Mike is a good player. He has weaknesses against certain builds. He's not particularly good against Nikolai, but as time has gone on, he's become more brave against bioweapons. Sometimes he's still way too scared against Mr. X, but that's besides the point. He doesn't always pick the best weapons to snipe the cores against, like, Infection Alex's. He'll only have a Raiden, and he'll chip away at the core, for example. But yeah, no, Mike is a good player, and he surprised me the other month when we did customs against Dominic, and he did well. Definitely a bit too timid to be like B tier upwards. I believe if he was more brave and if he proved himself against better players more often, which he can't because of his block list, but he's good enough, Mike, to be a B tier player. It's just, you know, few weaknesses here and there, but overall still, he's above a lot of good players. He is a good player, definitely one of the best Beckers, and also a really, really good mate of mine. So thank you for being you, Mike. And thank you all for listening to this jam-packed part. The next part will be the conclusion of the C tier, and I will see you then for more. We are getting there now through the tier list. It's been another chunky video, but we are making progress. And I hope you enjoyed and have a lovely day. I feel like I've been speaking at 100 miles an hour because I've wanted to get through as many as possible, as quick as possible, and it's still been 45 minutes. Anyway, thank you for listening. Give me some salt in the comments or some lovely comments, whatever you fancy. And I will see you next time.